just thought, why the hell should I let them get away with that? You know, if I don't stand up to them, then they're just, you know, greedy people just going to get their own way, and innocent people will suffer. Damascus is unique in the world in this concentration of Ottoman houses. It's the only residential concentration like that of anywhere in the world. I mean, it was a 3-year restoration project. It was a major thing. I mean, I had no idea what I was taking on, as you don't at the beginning of these things, but it just seemed so natural. It seemed like the right thing to do. And the way I always saw it was saving a little fragment of Syrian cultural heritage, because these fabulous houses, these ancient palaces, were just decaying. They were completely out of fashion, and they'd been abandoned. People had left them and moved to modern flats. Of course, tragically now have all been bombed to pieces, and it's the old houses in the centre of the old city that are regarded as the safest place. So extraordinary irony that these old places which were being abandoned have of course now become where everybody is crowded into. When I took it on, as I said, I saw it as I didn't care how much it cost. Not that it was that expensive, but I didn't have any money actually. I didn't have much money, so I did spend my entire life savings on it, and I thought, well, I don't care, because I know it's the right thing to do. I know it seems crazy, but it was, I just felt it was something I had to do. I was sort of fated to do, and the way everything fell into place, every time there was an obstacle that might have made it impossible, my Syrian friends just helped me to overcome it. And this was just me and them. You know, I had no special connections, I wasn't paying bribe money to anybody. This was just me and them helping me, because they could see that I actually cared about the place. And so that was what was so wonderful. I just learnt so much through the whole experience of doing that restoration project. It enabled me to become deeply embedded in Syrian society in a way that I could never have done just from, you know, visiting loads of times. It was a fabulous experience. I learnt so much from it. I've never regretted it for 1 second. When I had 5 refugee families living in the house who were my friends and who were living there with my permission, my original lawyer, went bad, became greedy. You know, this happens in war. Some people just go off the rails, you know, and lose it. And in cahoots with the previous owner, he hatched this plot to kick out all my friends by writing a security report saying that I was a terrorist, and that all my friends, therefore, by virtue of being linked to me, were, contaminated by their association with me. And so on the strength of that report, they were all arrested. Some of them were tortured. One family managed to flee to Beirut, and they're still there. So, you know, obviously the house, he was in the process of taking the house, basically. So this is when I had to go back and challenge all of that, you know, without telling him, of course. So it just showed up. There were soldiers, you know, we had soldiers breaking down the door, you know, we stood up to them. We refused to budge. And they were so shocked at how strong I was behaving. I don't know where the strength came from, but I was just so angry that these greedy people who did not need the house were kicking out people who genuinely needed it. I just thought, why the hell should I let them get away with that? You know, if I don't stand up to them, then they're just, greedy people just going to get their own way, and innocent people will suffer. And I mean, this is happening all over Syria. People's houses are being stolen from them. In Homs, for example, the regime has burnt the property deeds place, the archive, in order to eradicate all the proof of who owns what, because they want to do a bit of ethnic cleansing, basically, in Homs. They want to change the demography, and they're already doing it, bringing in loads of Alawis to resettle the areas where there was a lot of resistance in the revolution. So this crazy stuff is going on all over the country. There is still this huge sense of purpose and hope and cohesion in society that, as I said, everybody rallied round. I mean, I was genuinely worried about going back to Damascus currently. This wasn't so long ago, and things, you could hear the bombing going on in the suburbs. It was dangerous, had no insurance cover, nothing, no embassy cover. So you were very much on your own, and you're very aware of that. But through the sheer help and support and suggestions and everything that my new Syrian lawyer and friends and neighbours were able to give me, we succeeded. I mean, they were terrific, absolutely terrific, and we laughed so much. I can't tell you, that fortnight that I spent, I've never laughed so much in all my life. It was I'll never forget it. It was just the most exciting 2 weeks of my life, and we won.
The image that is being filtered through the media here of Syria, as you say, very flat and two-dimensional, and the focus is very much upon what's coming over here, refugees who are coming over here, ISIS that might be coming over here. So as someone who has, as you say, been so deeply embedded in Syrian culture and the real Syria, how do you feel about that portrayal, and how has it motivated you in what you do now?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's right. I mean, it's just a crazy situation that this is, again, being whipped up by the media, and of course the current referendum isn't helping, with the focus on immigration, all these terrible posters coming out, showing refugees heading this way, terrorists, rapists. I mean, it's just ghastly, and so many of my Muslim friends, Syrian friends living in this country are so upset because they feel, for the first time in their lives, unwelcome in what they regard as their own country. And it's such a distortion, and people can't see it for what it is. This is a sort of historic moment of a massive refugee crisis. People imagine that these people are not making the decision to leave their own country lightly. It's a huge decision. I mean, of my Syrian friends, about half of them are still inside Syria. For one reason or another, they can't or refuse to leave. The other half have left because they've had to in some way. So they are scattered between Jordan, Lebanon and Turkey. And some of them have made it to Germany. And so from amongst my own personal friends, I've seen the whole range of it. And, I know that these people want nothing more than to go back to Syria the minute they can.
Is this how you got involved with giving talks at schools?
Yes, because my other big worry is, with all this media focus, as I mentioned, on ISIS, the terrorism, and Muslims beginning to be associated with terrorisms, and Syria equals ISIS and all of this, I became very worried that there's a whole generation of young people growing up in this country with very distorted ideas about Islam, about Muslims, about the Arab world generally. I've given talks now all over the country. This is sixth form talks, so it's wonderful that you do get a chance to talk to people at that age, before they're going to university, to try to put another side to it and to try to explain, look, it's not so simplistic as the media likes to portray. Most of them are genuinely surprised to hear a different picture of it. Because there's been this complete inertia in Western policy on Syria, there's just no political will to end this war. So many countries are involved. I mean, nearly half the countries of the world, I read now, are involved one way or another in this war. It's become a massive proxy war where the battle, the playground almost for all these competing rivalries is Syria, and therefore it's the Syrian people who are the victims of it. Over the years, Syria itself has taken in many, many refugees of all different nationalities, religions, races. Even recently, it's taken in refugees, over 1.5 million refugees from the Iraq war. I've seen Syrians during the 2006 war in Lebanon. I was in Damascus, and my Syrian friends said, "Oh, we're just taking the car to the border to collect some refugees." And I was sort of saying, "Oh, really? Why? Are they your friends or something?" And they said, "No, we don't know who they are, but we know that they're fleeing from the Israeli bombing, and they're rushing to the border, and they've got nowhere to go. So we're just going to collect them, and we'll bring them back into our houses, and they'll stay with us until it's safe to go back." And they just thought of that as completely normal. That is just what you do when your fellow, people next door, wherever they're from, need it. And that's just the instinctive reaction of hospitality and humanity that they have, and which we have lost. And that's what I think, is so wrong. We need to press a reset button somewhere in our heads so that we start to see it differently. I have no reason to go back at the moment. No, I can do more here than I could there. And I'm in touch with other friends every day. I mean, the whole time. So sort of half my brain is always in Syria anyway. The war will end at some point. Nobody knows when. It could end tomorrow with the political will, but it's not going to because there isn't the political will. So the chances are it will take, anything up to 5 more years, theoretically. But it could change very fast. You can't tell. You can't tell. We live in a very strange and unpredictable world at the moment. So, it only needs key players in this war to decide that it's in their interests to stop it, and it will stop. So that could happen quickly. It could happen by the end of this year. I've got Syrian friends, actually, who are very optimistic about this year. For some reason, they've got this thing that, 2016, they've got a very good feeling about it, that things are going to get better this year. So I hope they're right.